Alright, so the plan for today is to add an actual real multiplayer game to our matchmaker service, and we'll do that by using our implementation of like a really simple collect a coin and kill the enemies, which are also other players, that we did in the cool language, which is my own programming language, so that's gonna be interesting to see. And yeah, just like a small, just to remember how this thing was working, right? We have to change in the matchmaker which game we want to use. So right now we are using game echo. We can try to show how this was working. So let's compose down. Let's delete everything from our database. Let's start a new database. Then let me just start a new Nix shell, and then we can do something like go run just to initialize the tables, and then we can run air. And now let's start a new, if we do a post request to the API/rooms endpoint of our matchmaker, it's going to create a new room, and we can specify the name, the if it's public or private. I mean, you just say private equals false, but you know what I mean. And how many players do you want to have in your room? And if we make this request, we'll get back a code, which is the important part. Well, I mean, the first few things are the important part. The code is what you share with your friends, because you will probably do something like, or the game client is going to do something like this, right, to be able to get a private room. And if the room is public, then you would just curl the entire endpoint. So let's also create the public room, private false. So if this room is private, then we'll see it in the main menu, let's say, right, when you access the entire list of rooms. But if it's private, you have to make the other request. What the fuck? Like this one. Why didn't it work though? That's weird. Let me just double check that everything is fine. I mean, really confused though. Oh, you know what happened? The room was empty for too long and the matchmaker destroyed it. So yeah, if we try to take a look at all the rooms again, they are empty because the matchmaker actually deleted the room because it was empty. So let's recreate the private room, right? So we get the code, and it looks like you have to be pretty quick with it. You have to, but wouldn't wouldn't worry too much about this, because I'd say that for if we really had a game client in place, after making this post request, the game client would connect immediately, so the room wouldn't get deleted, right? But it is what it is. And yeah, as I said, to be able to see the details of the room, you have to know the code. Otherwise, you wouldn't see it in the list of public rooms. And the other interesting request, which the matchmaker does to all the rooms to know which ones to delete, is the /status on the query port of the game. and that's where it gets the number of players, and it knows that if the number of players is 0, then it can delete the room. And as you can see in the docker ps command, only this image is still running. The rest, the other rooms that were deleted are deleted from here and also from the database. So if we, let's say we netcat into it, so you can see also, I mean, it's just an echo server, so it doesn't do anything special. But if we close everything, after some time it's gonna delete it, right? So it makes a request here, I guess, and at some point it should delete it, but yeah, anyway, so I'll just wait for it to be deleted, and yeah, we'll see from there. Right, so now it found it as empty, right? So found an empty room, and it's gonna run docker kill for that room, and then it also deleted it from the database. So if we check docker ps, we see only the Postgres database running. So, you know, that's pretty nice. Let's kill the server, the meshmaker, for now, because we are not gonna use it. Actually, we'll use it for a small example. So let's see now, because I was able to go into Cool Compiler and fix some of the things, and I was able to actually run raylib, but I mean, I think that was already pretty clear. And I created a Docker image from Debian. We install like the important parts like Clang, Phasm. We don't really need raylib for the backend because the backend is only a console application. It's not doing anything graphic, so we don't need raylib. But the issue was that when we compile the modules, for some reason on NixOS we don't need this dynamic linker to specify the dynamic linker. It works without it. I have no idea why. And on other distros like Debian or Arch, because I implemented this, I don't remember, I think it was on Arch, but yeah, it's weird switching from like Arch to Debian to Ubuntu to something like that. There's no issue, like everything still works the same. But yeah, like on Nix some things are a bit trickier to do, but I have no idea why doesn't work if I add this thing on Nix, but on Debian it needs it. I have no idea. So yeah, coolc actually runs this command itself, right? It knows based on which modules we use. So here we use the net module, threading module, data, random, and so on. Based on these modules, it knows with which libraries to link. So obviously threading is gonna need pthread. Net is gonna need libc, or I mean, I don't know. It only needs the syscalls, but yeah, whatever. And then dynamic linker is needed, from what I remember, to be able to link with these libraries. But yeah, again, on NixOS it worked without it, so I removed it from the dependencies. So if we go into the lib folder, which is where I implement each thing, let's check threading, right? Basically the code porting pthreads, and then inside of flags I just put the flags. So before I had here the dynamic linker, but yeah, for some reason on NixOS doesn't work, so I had to remove it, and instead I just run again the ld command, right? So you can do that. Obviously we can just run coolc to generate the object file and then just use ld manually, even though I have this all these dependency like tree builder or whatever. I mean, now I started to appreciate more the CMake and make things, because it's really hard to write something that does dependencies, and yeah, it really sucks. But yeah, we are able to just run it manually, so that's fine. And if we build this Docker image, we'll get game cool, let's say, and it's supposed to just run the coin server. And right now the coin server, if we take a look at it, it only creates a TCP listener. That's what server is mainly, right on port 6969 with 100 players. So it doesn't even use environment variables. I'd have to implement that from scratch, and to be honest, not gonna do that because we are planning to add HTTP. So that's gonna be more interesting, to be honest. I mean, even environment variables might be interesting, but yeah, like with environment variables, would it be possible to do argv and argc? I'm not sure, because argv and argc, it's also gonna be interesting to have in the main function, but whatever. So yeah, so we have a TCP listener, and that's the only thing that we do, right? We pthread spawn a lobby. I don't even remember how this thing was working. So player lobby, I'm pretty sure it's like a thread, right? And it needs this run function, if I remember correctly. And the run function is what runs in a different thread. So for HTTP, obviously we'll need to create another thread and do all of this stuff, but we are not there yet. Excuse me, what? Let me just make clean. That's strange. Maybe it copied something like There's a run make here, so that's weird. Okay, yeah, so now it was fine. Okay, so what if instead of game echo we use game cool, right? That's the real question now. So we started, we go ahead and create a private room. It created something. Let's first try to see if we get the query port, right? Let's check for status. Well, I don't have it in the history, that's strange. So we check for status. Doesn't work. That's sad. Right? And what if we try to connect with Netcat? What if we do this one? Well, get something. 41. I'll be honest, I remember this. I think 41 is the type of the message, if I remember correctly, but I don't. Oh, we don't have the Docker logs or Docker PS. How can I check Docker log? And we ask for the logs of this thing. Can I? But it's funny, client for connected, right? So what if we send, I don't know, 42? Ah, shit, didn't work. So yeah, like, right, so it ran something, but we I think we killed it for some reason. So let's docker kill it just to make sure. Let's try to create another room. And this time, instead of doing that like with netcat, what if we try to actually use the you know, that's kind of gonna suck. Yeah, I have to do something. So we make the examples, we do coin client, we paste in the game port. I changed the client, so if we go to examples client, I just added this extra port variable that we read from stdin, and yeah, so we can specify the game port, and oh, we actually just connected to it and are able to play it. That's quite interesting. So yeah, I mean, obviously it was gonna work, like it's not a surprise, to be honest, but yeah, so client for connected, right? But that's pretty nice. So if we go back to this thing and run the client, oh, let me just take the game port, we get the other client connected, right? Now the only issue is that you won't be able to, like, you have only 100 players, right? Because it's hard coded, we don't read it from environment variables, but yeah, I mean, still fine, I guess. So let's kill air, and yeah, the thing is we don't need to do any changes on this project, right? We only need to change the game name to game cool, right? And once we are done, so yeah, basically what we need to do is because you see here error while performing health check, right? So the game that we have right now in made in cool, the coin game, let's say, doesn't really like, is not implemented in such a way that the matchmaker, you know, deals with it well. It needs this extra endpoint for health check, right? But the rest of the game is fine, I would say. Sure, it doesn't read environment variables, but that's beyond the point, so whatever. Right, can be fixed later basically, but this endpoint right here would be quite important, because if we check docker ps, the game is still running, right? And it's empty, so we have to kill it manually. But if we had this endpoint available, then matchmaker would know that the game is empty and it can be killed. So yeah, that's the idea. So let's go ahead. First of all, I want to do a docker ignore file, because it's gonna be annoying when I do docker build. You can see that, where is the docker file? You can see that we copy everything, so we also copy the build folder, and that's not good because we overwrite our stuff. So yeah, if I do now docker build, I think it should be fine. Right, so I think I'll go into lib, and inside of the net module, I think I'm gonna add HTTP as another module, or I guess another file in the net module. Okay, let's see if, yeah, so it's fine, right? I think I'm gonna add http.cl. Yeah, so this was the only change, right? We, instead of hard coding the port, we read it from, yeah. So I mean even, yeah, like adding, I'd say like reading environment variables might be a separate module like OS, because Prelude is more like Linux syscalls and base types from cool, like object, IO, int, string, and boolean. So also byte, word, double word, int, or quad word, even floats. Damn, I remember when I did the XMEM registers, it was a pain in the ass, but okay. So what do we need to do for HTTP? That's an interesting question. Well, if you remember from like 2 weeks ago, maybe it was, we had this HTTP server in C, right? So it's what we have here. And let's see if we can see like a pattern maybe. So first part is just argument parsing, not important. But then we create this socket, right? We do it with sockets, then we bind a port, and then we listen. And then we accept connections. All right, so this is just a TCP listener. So if we go back to Cool Compiler, we already have this guy. We have the, you can see accept, receive, send, even like reading and writing messages. All right, so that's interesting. And I mean, this is kind of a TCP listener, but since I was building like release more games, I was thinking of them more like the server, and it has like a number of players it can connect instead of like clients. But it's still like a TCP listener in a way. So yeah, you can see we have all of these here, right? We do a Linux socket, we do Linux bind, and then we do linux.listen. So yeah, it's just gonna create a TCP listener in a way. And then we have this handle request. I'm not sure what, oh yeah, handle request. And the handle request, what it's gonna do is it's gonna read from the client file descriptor, so from the socket. Then it's going to parse a request, and yeah, this was a file-based router. So the request path is the file that we want to read. So the rest of the thing is kind of unimportant, but you can see that we read and then we parse a message. And let's check what our TCP listener does when we accept. So when we accept, well, we just add a new buffer where we can have text, right? So yeah, it's a bit weird. Don't mind this one. Let's look at receive, because receive it's what's gonna happen after accept. So once you start to receive, right, we have the client file descriptor from the socket, kind of like that. And we read, like this is the part where we read, right? And then we do some buffering, but this is not gonna be really needed because HTTP is something like you send a message and then you get back a message and then you close the connection. For a game, this makes more sense because the connection is not closed. You continue to send messages back and forth, and if a message is partially sent, then you want to wait to fully build it. I mean, it makes sense even for HTTP, but we always return a message, so yeah, like this part, where is it? Deserialize, right? That's the parsing of the message. So if we check for deserialize, how does it work? Well, deserialize, it's not implemented, as you can see. Just have to remember, because it's something like based on how you do inherits here. Serde deserialize. But that's weird because Serde deserialize, we pass in a Serde. I know it's stolen from Rust, but yeah. So here we try to deserialize something, right? When we have text in the buffer, and this thing is supposed to return a message and the rest of the string. So it's like a parser in a way. So yeah, I think it's something like this Serde is supposed to be a parser for our messages, right, when we initialize, but this is for the client. I was checking the server. Am I dumb? But I mean, even the server uses Serde, so it's gonna be kind of the same thing. So yeah, right, it tries to deserialize the buffer into a message. Maybe we will have an example somewhere of how we do that. But yeah, what's also interesting to me, I mean, I don't really remember how I implemented everything, right? I see even the message has this deserialize, which looks exactly like this one. So I'm gonna assume that it's something related between them. So yeah, we'll see. Okay. Anyway, so we can see that the TCP listener is exactly our HTTP server, right? We just need to implement this function, deserialize, which is going to take a string and build an HTTP message from that string, right? That's the only thing we have to do. Like, sounds pretty simple. Probably it's not going to be that simple, but one can only hope. So yeah, let's see. So let's go into HTTP. Let's see. Let's do something like this, and then let's go into examples. What should we choose from here? I think sockets might be too basic, honestly. Yeah, sockets might be too basic. So in examples, I think coin server, or maybe even coin message is gonna be useful, right? So yeah, now you can see why we had that deserialize as an abstract method, we'll have a message helper, which it's more like a message builder if you ask me, but yeah, which inherits the util functions. And deserialize is gonna be basically based on the kind of the message, it calls the right deserialize. But for us, it's gonna be only one deserialize. It's gonna be just HTTP deserialize. So yeah. So let's go ahead. Let's copy this one and maybe this one. Why not? Let's copy two of them just so we have them. So we can call it message helper. Not really, because it's gonna conflict with this name. So let's call it HTTP serde. It's gonna take in a string and it's gonna return message and string. We don't really have kind, as I said. We only do something like new HTTP message.deserialize input. That should be everything, I would say. All this thing does, it calls to HTTP message, and HTTP message is gonna be this class. I was thinking, should it be HTTP request? Maybe. It inherits the message, and we don't really need this definition. But what do we actually need? Well, I wanted to see if we have some kind of builder. Because that's gonna be really nice to see how the HTTP message was looking like. Whatever. But you know, we can remember it actually. So it should be something like method, right, which is a string, a path, which is another string. Then we should do like a list of headers, but I'm not gonna do that. And finally would be a string for the body, but I'm also gonna skip that for now. So let's have method m string p string, right? So we initialize the method and the path. Like this is if you want to send the request, I guess. Well, we can delete this stuff. Then we had, yeah, because we need, it's interesting, we needed like functions to be able to get the attributes, which, you know, like for a OP language, having everything private, like it's not by default, or you can make them public. It's the attributes are always private, so I'd say that's really cool. Okay, so serialize, not really going to happen. So what I'm gonna do, libnet net, I'm just gonna take this one and we'll call like abort, and here maybe to do need to implement serialize, but you know, it's not important for now. We are interested only in the serialize. Right, so okay, I don't think we have split by, and that's basically where it's over. Just kidding. So in Prelude, let's see class string. What do we have with string? So we have split. Oh my god, that's insane. That's a huge save. Like the fact that I implemented split is pretty cool. We also have trim right, repeat equals. I mean, repeat command, it's the most useless thing, but yeah. So we have split. That's really nice. So it's gonna be a tuple. Okay, fair enough. Let's comment out this stuff. Let's comment out this stuff, and we'll do something like this. We'll let. So we want to split by space, if I remember correctly. But you know what? Actually, just to have like a POC that this thing works, I think that what I'm actually gonna do is something like new io.outString input will print this, and then at the end we need to abort, or I guess new tuple. We can just do new tuple and it's gonna work. So sure, it's gonna fail. But I think that's gonna be enough. So let's go ahead actually in coin server. Maybe I have an idea. So that's this server that I'm gonna do. So player lobby. How can we do HTTP server? Because we set the server here, so okay, like let's try to copy stuff from here, but it's not gonna be threaded at first, right? So we can do something like class HTTP server. I don't think it needs to inherit anything. It needs a server, right? But I think that ideally we set the port. So let's have something like an init function. We'll do init, and init gets the port, which is gonna be an integer, right? And then we have to do something like this. Server. So this thing is gonna keep a server, which is just a TCP listener. Right, it creates a new server, initialize with P for the port. Whatever. The new message helper is gonna be HTTP serde, and then listen 100, like whatever 100. Right. I don't think we need the port anymore, but let's just keep it. So that's what the init is gonna do. Right, imagine you create the HTTP server, you specify the port, and that's that. I don't think we need the, like we already have the port in the server attribute, so it's fine. But yeah, imagine that we create this and then we run something like execute or listen or begin, which is gonna run this entire code from here, kind of. So maybe we can just say run. So it's gonna be something like this. Run, right? So HTTP server, and then you say run. But now comes the interesting part. Now comes the interesting part because how do we like create routers? You know what I mean? So yeah, this thing knows how to deserialize a message, but we can have, oh, this is gonna be interesting. We can have a handler which takes a message, or I guess HTTP request. Maybe it returns an object. Not sure. Like, should return an HTTP response. HTTP response. We don't have that yet, but it starts to make sense, right? HTTP. Let's copy this thing. So we have HTTP request and HTTP response. Right now I'm not sure what this thing is gonna be, so let's just do that. Yeah, so it's funny, we won't need that. Let me just go ahead and do, yeah, so we won't need deserialize in this case. But we'll need serialize, so yeah. We need, but this one is not needed right now because we just want to serialize a response. Okay, interestingly enough. So yeah, we'll have a handler here. All right. Probably I'm just gonna do new. Oh, no. I said we need to abort. We just need like this handler actually needs to be new HTTP response. It needs to be an abstract method. Right? This is an abstract method handler. So when we create an HTTP server, we'll need to implement this method, right? And this handler is just gonna be the router, but it's gonna be with a lot of ifs and you know, it's not gonna be the nice Node.js like Express or like I don't know, Fast API or stuff like that. It's gonna be a basic bare bones HTTP handler. Okay, so we have the while true loop. we accept a connection, client file descriptor. I'm gonna say that we don't really care about, so we should create a client connection. Examples server. What can we do here? Wait, what? Server recv. Oh wait, this bamboozled me. I think recv is okay. I mean libnet. I think there is a receive function on the server, but it needs a socket fd. Okay, so then it makes sense that we need this stuff, right? And then we need to call receive straight up. Man, this is crazy, but okay, let's delete all of this. So we create a client fd, right? So we accept the connection inside of run, and I would say that we need to do receive, like we have to do receive on the server. So receive socket fd. So I'm gonna do something like message is a message, and we do server dot receive client fd, right? We receive a message, and now we need to do something like case message of, oh shit, I don't remember the syntax. Oh no. oh, we have an example. Yeah, perfect. So case message of, and then we can do stuff like, well, if it's a HTTP request, which is what we, like the only thing we do here. Oh, the only thing we return from HTTP server. Then we do something like handler m, and if m is like a message, then we cannot do anything. It's like unexpected. So I guess we could just leave it as it is. Okay, so I think that's how we are supposed to do it, right? We accept the connection, then we receive a message, and if we check libnet, receive should use the CERT implementation that we provided to deserialize, a message, right? And the implementation that we provided always returns HTTP request. So here we receive an HTTP request and we call the handler on it. So I think this should be how we run this bad boy, right? And now the handler will do something like HTTP server like game, and then we implement the handler, right? And actually it's not over, sadly. We need to say maybe something like response, HTTP response is equal to this thing, and then we need to server.send or libnetnet, yeah, server.send, and here we send a message. So we might as well say that this is a message, server.send client fd response. So actually this is it, right? We also send the response. And I'd say that this is it, right? Pretty nice, I'd say. So yeah, now let's try to go to coin server and so I said that this HTTP server, it's pretty easy to create, but the handler is not implemented yet, which shouldn't be a problem for having the receive being called. I mean, this might as well just inherit threading, but don't really like that. I prefer to have something like, for example, we take this thing, we put it here, we say inherits threading, or how do you do that? How is player lobby defined? Oh my god. This piece of inherits thread. Yeah, inherits thread, okay. And we don't need to define these, we just need to define this one, and then run is already implemented, I would say. So that's pretty cool, potentially, because run is, I think run is the only thing that you need in class thread. Spawn and join are, yeah, see, okay, makes sense to me, I guess. So HTTP server coin, I mean we can just say coin, inherits thread. Here we have a handler, So we can do something like HTTP is HTTP server. Oh, but you know what? We cannot do that because we need to inherit HTTP server first to have all of those methods, and then we do the implementation, whatever. And then we can do HTTP server coin thread. No, we cannot. Fuck. We need to build a wrapper. So it's gonna be something like class HTTP server coin. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be thread inherits thread. And then HTTP is gonna be HTTP server, and inside of init is gonna have an H, which is an HTTP server. HTTP is gonna be equal to H, and then we return self, something like that. So we have the init, and now inside of the run method, oh, we just need I would guess just call http.run in here. So yeah, I'm gonna say that we need to implement this coin or HTTP server like this. Let's call it just HTTP server thread. Yeah, I know, it's fine. So we'll have to implement this one, the handler. Yeah, I mean, it sucks, but whatever. So HTTP is gonna be the HTTP server coin, right? So new HTTP server coin dot init we set the port. That's the only thing. Right, so it's just like writing this thing, and then pthread, we already have pthread, so I think we can just spawn. So let's do HTTP server, I don't know, it needs to be this HTTP server thread, I guess. New.init HTTP, right? That's what we need to do. I think so, judging by this. I mean, then why not just do something like this? Like, we have an HTTP server thread, right? It's just because we cannot inherit multiple classes at once, only one class, and it's fine. It is what it is. We need this wrapper. Okay, so next is to have like HTTP thread. It's like an integer pthread.spawn HTTP, and we should have a separate thread running this thing. But you know, at the same time, we could have just ran it without a thread, but it's fine. pthread.join HTTP thread. Right, it's not like we are actually gonna wait for these. They are in a while true loop, so it doesn't even matter. So yeah. Now let's try to make examples. Nice, we have some compiler errors as expected. So line 50, man, if this thing is good, then I don't know what HTTP. So line 56, it's insane. Line 7, like, can you imagine that I actually implemented this shit? Inside of coin server at this line, like, it literally tells you the line where the error happens. Like, come on, if this is not amazing, I don't know what 3, 4. Yeah, I always forget that you need to put semicolons after the class definition, but that's 349. And also after each function. That's another one. Line 20. Okay, so now it starts to suck. Type string is incompatible with the type int at line 20 in here. So here I said, yeah, it has to be a string. It compiled? Excuse me? Like, well, like, build coin server, let's see. So we run the coin server, right? Let's try to curl just something like a get request. Holy fuck! I mean, I cannot be surprised. Obviously, like, if the TCP listener worked like this, also was gonna work. Like, there's no not that big of a deal. Come on, let's not go mad mode just because that thing worked. Okay. Damn, it worked first try. Like, it worked first try because my definition of first try was just being able to see the HTTP message. We didn't go too far yet, like, yeah. So listening on port 6969 and 8080. Like, it's a shame that we cannot do 420, but come on. Actually, I think we can do. No, we cannot. So it is what it is. Okay, so we actually show it here, right? Like if we say we got a message, and if we recompile and then we run the curl, right, we got the message. So how are we gonna deserialize this bad boy? Well, I'm a bit the fuck. Oh no, oh my god, we have the annoying bug. Like sometimes the port stays bound or whatever you said, and yeah, you cannot bind it again. You have to wait for a bit to get cleaned up by the OS, but I don't know if you can actually maybe do something cool. But yeah, so input will have a let, obviously, and we'll have something like input dot. So in prelude we have split by space, right? And this thing is gonna give us the get and the rest. So I think I'm gonna call this loop tuple, right? Class tuple is pretty useful, to be honest, because it has two objects, first and second. Interesting. So what do we need to do? Is man, I'm like pretty sure there is a in class string, like you can do something like string. Not really. Yeah, let's see. So tuple, I mean, kind of, yeah. We might be able to do toString on them, and we'll get back these things, but not sure. I think it should work, but I don't see toString on this one. Or am yeah, I cannot see it. Am I stupid? Like toString. There is toString on Boolean, on byte, on integer, but not on the string. The fuck? Who implemented this shit? No idea. Okay. How can we do that though? I'm pretty sure I use tuple a lot. Nice. Here. Okay, let's copy this one. So we had this. Oh, actually, yeah, this guy is right. We are gonna do something like this. So we split on space, then we get a method, which is quite funny because method is gonna be we overwrite it. So let's call it m for a method. It's gonna be a string, and we do something like to first of m string, then m, and then a suck. Right, and in the in we might do something like method m, and that's it. I'd say. Oh, but deserialize. No, I mean that's enough. But now for an example, we have this message CL. In deserialize, okay, so deserialize is more like an what the fuck? I see. So we don't return self, we just create another. Like, that's stupid, but fair enough. Right, so we do something like msg is a message, and we just do new http request dot init, and we pass in the method and the path, which we don't have yet, but we'll do. And then we have the rest, which we don't care about. I'll be honest, we don't care about the rest. And we do message, and the rest is going to be an empty string. Okay, so that's how the serialize is supposed to work in the HTTP request. Right, like this is a constructor somehow. Anyway, so we have the M, but we don't have a P. So to get the P, we need to tuple input.split again on space, and now we can case loop first p string p exec. So that's how we get the method and the path. Right, kind of everything we needed. Quite straightforward, I would say. So if we go now to, can we make examples and rerun? Oh shit. Okay, now it looks like something I would actually implement. You know what I mean? But it's fine. So line 32, I have an extra comma. Like an extra comma here fucks everything up. Yeah. Okay, that's pretty good. Listening. Shit. Fuck, it's like it's gonna abort, so there's no purpose in trying it because we don't print anything. But you get the point. We build a new HTTP request, right? So now if we go to coin server, we have this handler, which is gonna be called wait our thingy. So if we do something here like new io dot out string message dot path and message dot method, let's say, and then we abort, well, let's not even abort anymore. Let's do HTTP response, and let's have HTTP response serialize into an empty string. So it's like, it's not gonna work, but at least it's not gonna crash our thing, let's say. So let's imagine that we ask for status. Okay, well, at least I tried. I was close. Okay, I'll take this one as a fail. I'll take this one as an L. And I know why. It's because I was supposed to say something like input string is equal to second. So we need the rest, right, of the string. We cannot use input again. We need to get the rest. I mean, I can call it rest, but you get the point. So we do that, and we actually get a get request at this fucking endpoint. But we don't get a response back, so okay, perfect. Okay, so now if we go in the handler, all right, we can do something like if I can do shit like message.method is equal to get, and that's crazy, message.path is equal, like in cool language we don't have and or keyword. The if can only have a single boolean, so you have to do like this is a boolean, and then boolean has a method on it called end, so you do dot end, which, yeah, crazy, but it is what it is. I mean, you know, you have to do what you have to do when you are on a, you know, timeline to finish the language quickly. So okay, so we can do something like new response in both cases. All right, oh shit, I don't need this one. So this, imagine it's like a really scuffed way, you know, of saying, okay, we have a handler for get and this path, we have a handler for post and another path and so on, but we do everything in a single function because that's the limitation right now. So we would just need to add some kind of, let's see really quickly for HTTP response what we can do. So HTTP response, I'm just gonna do a like text or like the JSON, but we are gonna do just string, so let's call it S for a string. So we'll do string is equal to s, and in serialize we need to build that HTTP response that curl expects, right? So for example, here we can say init okay, and maybe here we can say init fail. I don't know, we'll see, because we can also specify maybe the status, which is going to be an integer. Or maybe it's code, or maybe this is the body, and then we have status is an integer, and body is a b. All right, so here we say okay 200, and here it's maybe 404, and this is not found. Yeah, and then serialize, how it's gonna be implemented. Well, I think the easiest way is to check how we build the messages here. How do you do that though? Read path. Because I don't remember what do you need to write on that. So we have handle request. We put some headers. Here we read the path, so we have some result. Content type, headers append, response content, response.write. Okay. Response serialize. So we have the protocol kind, status code. Okay. So let's think about it. How can we actually do that? Protocol kind, status code, then the headers and the content. Well, let's just hard code a response for the time being. So it's gonna be 200 okay. That's that, but we also need protocol kind, so HTTP 1.1, stuff like that. I think it's like this, right? Then the headers and then the content. So let's say we don't have any headers and we don't have any content, so that's the new lines. So if we make examples, fuck, on line 40. Oh yeah. Really? Oh, what? Oh, I remember. So actually equals is just one equal. It's cool. So let's run this bad boy, and now if we curl, we actually don't get anything, but it gets here. So what happens? Because we return a HTTP message. What did I do wrong? Maybe. So a new line and then headers and then new line and then this shit. Do I need another new line? I don't think so. I mean, okay, so let's see. Let's see what headers we added. Oh, content length and content type. Okay, yeah. Content type and content length. Yeah. So we also need content type and content length, right? So content type, let's say application JSON. Content length, let's say it's gonna be 1. But yeah, we need them to be like this. I don't think you can have multi-line strings. Actually, I don't remember. So content length is gonna be 1. No, let's say it's gonna be 3. So it's gonna be okay, and then new line. So let's see. Header without colon? The fuck? Header without colon. I mean, oh, yeah, 2 new lines here, right? Like in between data and that we need 2 new lines. If I do that, well, at least we get the response back, right? Now the bad part shit, is oh, actually we can concat strings. Wait, yeah, that's a huge part of this shit. We can concat strings. Oh my god, that's perfect. So that means, right, let's do something like status okay. This is a private one, or maybe status string, right? And we do something like if status is equal to 200, then 200 okay. Oh, then 200 okay, else 404 not found. And yeah, that's the only 2 cases, right? So here we can do something like dot concat status string, and maybe http version is also a string, and it's always http/1.1 http version. Right, and then maybe concat new line, then headers is gonna be a string, let's do string, concat headers string, and it's gonna be basically this stuff. And it's because content length, but we'll see. And then we need another new line after the headers, and then concat something like okay new line. Right, so this should still work, but it doesn't because I forgot the semicolons. Yeah, perfect. So now if we run the server and check for status, shit. We need to concat a space. We need a space, perfect. So now if we do that, we get back okay. Right. Let me just make this thing a bit more pretty, and that's that. So body, right? We can use the body here. Body length is going to be an integer. Length should be like b dot length or something. Prelude length, yeah. And I mean, even here we can say stuff like dot concat new line dot concat content length, right? Like we can refactor this thing in a lot of ways. Concat this dot concat body length to string. It's gonna be interesting, right? And we return all of this shit. And now here we can just say body. So that's serialization. Now, sure, it's a bit hard coded, but should be good. So if we go to coin server, here we say okay, here we say not found. So let's see if it still works. Let's delete that. We don't need that. Okay. So if we make, it works fine. Nice. So now imagine we say players 1. Like that. And now if we do that, we get the JSON result. Okay. Interesting. So now what we actually need is to somehow get the number of players. Player lobby. We have this list. Do we have count? We don't. But shouldn't be that difficult to implement. But we have players, right? inside of player lobby. Let's see where it's being used here. Lobby. I would say that we need the lobby for this guy. HTTP server coin. HTTP server coin. I should probably take this, right? And inside of HTTP server coin, I'm gonna do port, obviously, and lobby. Player lobby. Right, and what do we need to do here is lobby is equal to L, and then init, let's call it init2 because it's 2 arguments, and then we can call init port. Right, and it kind of sucks that you cannot that you have to do it like this, but it makes sense. Whatever, it's like init2, right? We just need a lobby here, and now we should do something like that dot concat, let's say lobby dot player count to string dot concat the closing stuff. So now if we go to lobby, player lobby, and we implement a function like player count int, let's say returns 0 for now, just to see, just to fix errors, but looks like it was fine. We get 0 players, that's nice. But what I actually need to do is come here and say something like count. It works on self. So I should do something like this, like append. So if next is void, then I want to return 1, else 1 plus next count, right? Or is it 0 here? I think it's 0. So if we don't have a next, we have one element. Yeah, we have one element. And if not, then we have that. Okay, so if we go back here, we should say something like players dot count. And now interesting part is that yeah, what I want to say is that interesting part is we have one like the sentinel object or something like that. in our list in the beginning, so we have 1 player even though we have 0 players, right? Because of this new object, so we have to say -1. But holy shit, we actually implemented HTTP in cool. Okay, so if we nix develop and then we build coin client 6969, it still works fine, right? And if we go here and check the status, it's 1 fucking player. Oh my god, that's insane. It's insane, dude. Holy shit. So build client 6969, we get another player, still works as expected, and we check the status, 2 fucking players. Oh my god. Alright, so it actually works now. So let's docker build this bad boy. Got a few changes. Okay, let me just close that. Let's just start up the matchmaker. That should be enough. Actually, I'll be honest, there's gonna be, let's first of all just remove all the volumes. Let's just start from scratch because it's easier, right? Go run init migrate, and now we run air. And now if we curl the post to create a private room, it created a room. Let's check the status. Zero players. Holy shit, it works. Let's go really quickly here just to make sure that we don't lose the, like, it's not being respawned. So coin client, we can access the game, right? If we check the status, it's 1 player. So we actually managed to do it. We are able to take one of the games that we implemented like a while back, and just run it with matchmaker. I don't know what this error is, but I mean, okay, that's kind of bad, but like still kind of works, right? Wait, am I doing it wrong? It wasn't players? I think it was players, right? I'm not tripping. Let me just double check. Yeah, it was players. I don't know why the fuck this thing complains. But yeah, whatever, like we are able to have HTTP in cool. Like it was more of implementing HTTP in cool rather than that of having the matchmaker, because yeah, the matchmaker was already working with this game, so there wasn't any issues. It was more like we needed HTTP to be able to have that query port so that we are able to remove empty rooms, right? So that was the missing piece from this game, but it's not like there's like an optional step, right? It works without it, but it sucks because you cannot kill the empty rooms. So that was the only thingy. Wait, it's still here. Yeah, maybe it was something broken with the HTTP, but couldn't tell. Like, why does it say invalid character P? No, to be honest, I don't really care. Like, it works, right? Making a request works, so that's good enough for me, in my opinion. Yeah, like maybe if there's an issue with Golang, I might try to figure out that thing by myself, because maybe it's something like extra headers or something that we need to have, and that's gonna be like, okay, let's do some debugging, but that's not interesting. Like, this was the idea of how you are supposed to do it, I guess, right? So that's more important than actually making Golang happy about it. So yeah, like we are able to send back, where is it? I lost. I just wanted to see where it was, the implementation, but I lost it for some reason. Yeah, here. So we are able to send back the number of players, right? Oh, and you know what's interesting? If we try to make I haven't tested that one, but if we try to make a request to something else than status, so let's say stat, it's gonna say not found, right? Or if you try to make a post request, not found. So the handler works quite well, right? So it's up to you to implement the handler, right? So that's nice. Yeah, I'd say I'm pretty happy with this kind of HTTP. I'm pretty sure it works even without threading, like just calling it here. But yeah, it kind of makes sense to, like, if both of them are threads, why not? Like in Golang, for example, in the example, we run. Why is it so weird? Oh yeah, we run one of them as a thread. So the HTTP we run as a thread, and the game client we run as the main thread. So you can see from this example that you can do that as well. Even here, we can run one of them as a thread and the other one like this, because it's the server. If it was the client, right, we need the main thread for Raylib. We cannot really do it otherwise. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter again, but yeah. So here we could have just run HTTP by itself, but it works even like this. Yeah, maybe the only thing is having mutex, because we have lobby twice on 2 threads, but shouldn't really matter, because here we use it just to read, and here we write to it. So it's not like we are writing to the same memory twice. We only do it that once, so it's fine. Yeah, but I mean, I have to figure out why this thing complained here. Is crap. But other than that, yeah, I think that's what I had in plan for today, adding HTTP to cool, so we are able to say that we have HTTP in our language. So now you can just how can we say, like, who needs JavaScript anymore, or Express.js? Just use cool language and implement your own HTTP server, right? Like, the future of web dev is cool language. Yeah. So yeah, hopefully it was, I mean, more of like on the entertaining side, I'd say. because yeah, like probably no one, even me, knows how cool language works anymore because it's been like a long time. But I think it's pretty nice that we were able to revive a bit an older project that was pretty successful. And yeah, like it was a bit of a crossover, let's say, in these two series. So yeah, we actually managed to finish the matchmaker since even last time, but we just wanted to run it on a more real use case, like on this existing multiplayer game. So looks like the matchmaker works decently. Like you can create rooms, you can join the rooms, we can check the status. It is supposed to kill the empty rooms, but I need to debug a bit why the cool game doesn't work really well, because the netcat echo server works. So it means that maybe it's something with some extra headers that we need to add. But all in all, I'd say that this was pretty cool to figure out how to do. And yeah, thank you for watching, and we'll see in the next one. So see you. Actually also figure out why it was not working. So you might laugh a bit at me, but I forgot to add the quotations around the player's key. So whoops. But yeah, so now it works just fine. So if we make the curl to status, it should actually delete it. So if we let's try to see if we were fast enough to still have the game. Right, so we have the game, it runs, and if we wait for it to do the health check, it killed it because yeah, it's empty. So yeah, that now yeah, we are actually done. So see you next time.